So what does it cost to build a kitchen in your basement? We have a lot of investors ask this question because they want to add it to their primary residence so they can do an Airbnb or medium-term rental while they live there. Or a lot of times we have investors want to add to a property to make an additional income suite on that property and turn a single family home sometimes into like basically a duplex style as 2 different levels on there. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons, lots of regulations. We're not going to cover that in today's video, but we're actually go through the cost of a build out and some tips. And our guest is Stacy Rozansky. She's an active investor who does a lot of like buy and hold rental properties and is also an investor-friendly realtor with Envision Advisors. Stacy, glad to talk about this with you. So to set the stage on here, this house used to be your primary residence in Centennial, which is a suburb in Denver, Colorado, and you started building a basement kitchen. Why?
For many of the reasons you just listed. Our original intent was that, we would put this basement kitchen in, then we have the opportunity and flexibility to make a separate unit to rent out, maybe do Airbnb, kind of just give us that flexibility. We also mostly did it because we had this really ugly laundry room.
And we got the photos up on here. So as we talk about this, obviously we got photos to check out. So I think that is the beautiful, what's that, like a vintage 1974, 1977 wood paneling on there, I think?
Yeah, it's actually 1960s.
Oh, excuse me.
We called it the Tiki Bar. 1960s home. Yeah, we had a Tiki Bar, and then you can see in this photo,
is that the laundry room behind
really
it?
Really ugly laundry room behind it, yeah.
So utility room, sink, water heater, probably a washer and dryer in there as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So while you're living there, you, husband, your 2 children.
Yep.
And so you started building it. So what was the conversation with the family on, what you'll do with it and how you'll go about building it? Because it's, there's a lot more challenges when you have, spouses and kids involved.
Yeah. Really just a conversation with me and my husband. We were, both on board with it. Wanted to do something with this space that would be more functional for the house. It also was a space where we thought, we entertain. It's like, a downstairs kitchen. If we have guests, just, staying there, it just makes a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense for a better use of that space.
Okay.
And because it was in the basement, not too terrible, on our living everyday lives because, we didn't need to go down there for anything. So that part was not a hard conversation.
Okay. And now scrolling down here, one of the things you said, hey, Chris, we got mentioned this in the video, is make sure you have a plan or a layout so you can effectively communicate it.
Yeah.
And we have, is this the official blueprints on here?
Yes, my official drawings there. It was important for me. I did kind of do a lot of the general contracting on this project, I would say. It's a small project. But I think it's important to have an idea or a design, some sort of layout that you can give a contractor or a handyman. So, you guys are both on the same page. I think trusting in a contractor to do the design for you is not necessarily the best course of action because that's not their specialty.
I agree. And plus, a lot of times you're thinking one thing, I'm thinking something else, and very rarely are they the exact same thing.
The contractor might come back and say, okay, well, here's why we can't do this because of code or space or whatever, but at least then you have something to work off of.
All right. So you drew out the plans, and then how hard was to find a contractor to do this? Because, this was not a huge project. Mm-hmm. Contractors are a limited supply right now.
Yeah.
How hard was it to find someone?
I didn't have a hard time finding somebody. We did, we interviewed a few different people, but we were very aware that this would be a side project for somebody. So most of the time they were coming in the afternoons or on the weekends to do this work. So it wasn't like they came for, it probably would have been done in like 2 weeks, if they came every day.
What did it take as a side project?
I would say like 6 months.
Okay. So a little longer than I expected there.
Yeah. Now, part of that is on me too, because I didn't really we didn't have a firm timeline, so we were okay with it kind of taking a little bit longer.
All right. So we got your spreadsheet here. Going down all this, can you run us through kind of the general cost, since that's what people want to know?
Yeah. So I laid out kind of general costs for labor, all your major plumbing, electrical. You want me to like read,
Yeah, let's
read
just
the
read it.
cost?
So-
Okay, so general labor was $42.50, plumbing $12.42, electrical $21.15. Then we get into countertops and cabinets. We're looking at about $1,800 for that. Tile for the floor, and then we did a tile backsplash, so that was like $300.
And so with it, so I mean, a lot of it kind of gets to be, a couple $100, which is nothing in a remodel project. So how big was the kitchen here?
Yeah, not a huge. It was. I want to say it's like
how big was the counter space?
probably 8 foot, and then it's like a little bit of an L, so
Okay.
8 foot by 4 foot, something like that.
All right.
Not a huge space.
So it comes down to here, the total of about $12,000 for labor, materials, and also it sounds like just a lot of your time as well, but that's not accounted for in the spreadsheet, right?
Right. And we did the demo ourselves. There were some walls to come down, so that saved us a little bit. And because of the size of the space, we actually did have to get apartment size appliances, which are actually more expensive than full size appliances. So
go figure.
Just a quick tip there.
Now you have some extras, which is basically another $12,000, which basically doubles the cost of $12,000 for the kitchen, an extra $12,000 for a couple items, $3,300 to new electrical panel, $1,500 for moving the laundry, and $8,000 for 2 egress windows. So what is an egress window, and why'd you put those in there?
Yeah, so we have 2 bedrooms down in the basement. So an egress window is what makes a bedroom legally a bedroom in a basement. You need the for people to get in and out. So usually in basements you have really small windows. So we put in the large size windows so they would be actually considered legal bedrooms.
And that's a really important tip that keeps it up to code.
Yep.
And also it's just a safety thing. If there is a major issue, it gives the tenant or the person down there an ability to hopefully get out safely.
And the reason they're so expensive is because they actually have to like drill into your foundation and cut out a window out of the concrete. So
yeah, so about $4,000 a window. That's kind of like going right now.
And usually I think it was a little extra with, we had to like move some sprinkler lines. There's always something happening.
Oh, yeah.
That makes it. But now it is, I would say from those numbers, so we were all in about $24,000, and I think it would cost us another about $5,000 to completely separate the unit. We would still need the function of the house. The back door goes right down the stairs, so we would just have to put up a wall and a door to make it a fully separate unit.
So basically, just under $30,000, you have a brand new kitchen down there, 2 bedrooms, and separate living space where you could potentially Airbnb it, medium-term rental it, or probably do a long-term rental, right?
Yep.
So lots of options up there, and of course, depending on your living situation, what you want to do, how hands-on, lots of different things you can do on there. But $30,000 to create a separate living space income suite doesn't sound too bad to me.
Yeah.
So last question before we wrap up here. If you could go back and do it again, what would you change?
I love the way it turned out. I would change my expectations of the contractor so we could get it done a little bit faster.
Go from 6 months, hopefully 2 or 3 months?
Yeah.
I mean, because if you are renting out, that is 3 or 4 months. We're not bringing in revenue.
Right.
So that's a common mistake I've done. I tell people if you self-manage it, pay attention to the deadlines because that is missed revenue. All right, Stacy, this is awesome. Your contact details and show notes if people want to reach out to you or email you at Stacy@envisionrea. Thanks a lot, everyone.